No, but I'm calling people, I'm talking to them while they're having dinner, while they're having breakfast, some even probably while they're on their way to work.
Mhm.
But I'm asking them what are their concerns before I introduce my platform.
This is
Because
Black Girls Politic, and I'm Michaela. Today I'm here with GiGi Hayes. For individuals who do not know you, that don't necessarily understand the seat that you're running for, can you give them a little bit of background about yourself and what you're running for?
absolutely, absolutely. So, of course, my name is Attorney GiGi Hayes. I'm an attorney here in Alabama, and I am running for Alabama State House Representative, District 52.
Yes, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're choosing to run at this moment?
Absolutely. So, for the most part, as a practicing attorney, I've really come to realize like how legislation can affect whether a community thrives or whether a community is hindered from thriving. I mean, some of the laws that are being made in our capital, which is Montgomery here, typically can have a positive effect on a community, or it can sometimes inadvertently have a negative effect. Even though the intentions may be good, it can affect things. So, in being a attorney, I've noticed that some of those things that have affected how our constituents in this area are able to things as simple as affordability of groceries that can be affected by legislation. And one particular thing, of course, as an attorney, that has gotten my attention is the laws as it relates to criminal law and affordability and healthcare here in Alabama.
Yeah, so that's why you're running because you believe that individuals should have a fair shot in this space. And I think that's admirable. I think, just across the board, we've heard a lot of that. Of course, affordability is a huge issue for a lot of people. Alabama and all 49 other states, a lot of people are feeling that. So, with that being said, you are a lifelong resident of Jefferson County. How has growing up and building your life in that area shaped you and your decision to run for office?
Being here in Birmingham, I've come to realize we have some resilient communities. We have some resilient, as you know, this is the home and hub of civil rights movement and of the civil rights movement. And that speaks to the resiliency of our constituents, of our community, of the people that really shape what's going on here in this county. And realizing that we have some resilient communities um, I think being raised here has made it so that I want to see our community thrive. I want to make sure that there's economic mobility. Prior to becoming an attorney, I was actually an HR executive. So I've done everything from organizational development, institutional development, and things like that in the private sector. So I think that there are ways that we can connect partnerships and create partnerships to enhance the workforce community here and make sure that we have good jobs here. So, in essence, instead of taking my skill set to another side of town, I want to bring it back home and make sure that we are thriving.
Yeah, and with that being said, one thing that you mentioned was really bringing these resources back home. So, for the seat that you're running for in particular, do you feel like that's happening now? And if not, do you feel like there's a space where you can really step in and fill that void?
I think that the legislators that we have down in Montgomery they've been moving the needle.
Okay.
However, I think that we're moving in a positive direction. However, I think that one thing that I would bring to the state house is my ability to form partnerships. And that's with other political leaders in the area, that's with other businesses that can create opportunity for this area and say a few years, make it so that we have healthy funnels and pipelines for talent and skill sets that can help us grow in that respect. So I think that the legislators that we have are able to make a positive effect. However, I think that there are some opportunities that can enhance what we're doing.
Awesome to hear. So, one thing that I noticed is that you wear many hats, attorney, professor, mother. How have these roles really, influenced your perspective on both leadership and policy?
So I often say that I have a interesting adversity quotient. if you will.
Mhm.
I think adversity plays a major part in anyone's ability to add value to a situation, to solutions, and various things like that. My different hats have not only given me leadership skills, but also given me relatability. I
Mhm.
often say I can't relate to someone that can't relate.
That's
So the
good.
people, oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, and if you will, I'll tell you in a minute what's at the core of me and my values about why I'm running. But I think being able to be relatable is strongly connected to being able to be held accountable. And as you know, often we vote for people, they come to our door, ask for our vote, and then we don't hear from them again. Now, in their defense, I'm sure that the ball gets rolling and things take off. However, accountability is extremely important. People need to be able to reach out and touch you. People need to be able to say, hey, I know I can count on Gigi. Gigi is gonna, even if that's not her job,
Yeah.
she'll get me connected to the resource that can help me get what I need.
Yeah, and I love that you speak about accountability. That's one thing my friends and I, we've had this conversation a lot where we're like, oh, like when they're running, especially, when candidates are running for office, we're like, oh, we really love them. Like they're so incredible. And then the moment they get elected, me and my friends are like, oh man, now we got to hold them accountable. Like now we got to make sure they do everything that they say they're going to do. So I love that you spoke, really to accountability. I didn't mention this at the top of the call, but you're also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Now it's a little different over here, okay? We real
Yeah,
pink and real
yeah,
green on this side of the town. And that's okay. Look, I love my sister Greeks all
yes,
alike. With that
yes.
being said, how has that legacy? I mean, DST has a really strong legacy, like the others, but a really strong legacy of pushing out, public servants, people that really care about this work. How has your membership influenced some of that work?
So, as a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, I have to say that that sisterhood is grounded on advocacy. I mean, as you know, as a D9 sister of mine, that we care a lot about the communities that are around us. We understand how people that are in destitute and poverty need us to speak up for them. We have a variety of programs that I have been a part of that give me pride in what I do in the community. Because it's such a well organized organization, we're able to be very effective in how we affect the communities that we serve.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that because, I think there's such an incredible pipeline of like D9 member to public service. And, I've interviewed a lot of candidates, Jasmine Crockett, who happens to be in your sorority as well. She's
Yes.
incredible. She talks about how the legacy of public service from her sorority has really influenced her. So I just wanted to ask, because I'm like, I feel like we all kind of have this, sorority to public service pipeline happening.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, yeah, to your point, all of these Divine Nine organizations are so effective in the way that they move, and they just really do produce, really productive individuals and public servants.
Was going to say one of our founders, I get so motivated thinking about, I mean, 100 years ago, how one of our founders realized that people of color were not able to get to hospitals because ambulances they were restricted from riding in ambulances because of their color.
Mhm.
That's scary. So she, way back when, I mean, imagine in the early, like 1800s, right? I mean, the late 1800s, I apologize. She put together the efforts to purchase an ambulance.
Wow.
That is crazy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? To make sure that the people in the communities we serve have what they need. So that's really motivating for me. And one, you had asked me earlier, why am I running? If you get to the core of who I am and my core values, there's a scripture and it's Proverbs 31, 8 and 9. And it says, speak out for those that are in destitute and seek justice for the needy.
Yeah.
That's why I became an attorney. That's why I'm an educator. That's why I have decided to run for Alabama State House Representative because there are people that can really benefit from this skill set that God has given me.
Yeah. And that's really incredible. I think if more people grounded themselves in such a teaching, we would have. And the thing is, I always tell people we have public servants who will never have a title, right? We have individuals who do incredible work that will never run for office. But I think at the very core of it is that scripture, is that people understanding that, once there's a charge on your life, it's up to you to really take it up and to do it. So kudos to you because running for office, I tell people, is no small feat. Like it's a lot of work, a lot of effort goes into it. So yes, shout out to you and y'all who continue to do
Thank
this
you.
work. Yeah, I
Thank
love it.
you. Yes, I've often said on this journey that it's like I'm going from lamb to lioness.
Mm.
Like I'm being bold and I hope that it encourages other African American females, other people that are wondering, should I do this? If it feels right, go from lamb to lioness, be bold and fierce in your approach to make sure that others are okay.
So, you know what, let's speak to that for 2 seconds. So, for an individual who's watching this interview, and here's the thing, we get a ton of questions, a lot of young women who say, I want to do it, I just don't know how. I want to do it, I feel like I don't have the confidence to step into it yet. What piece of advice can you give them to really just go for it?
I'd say you are a child of the Almighty and you are charged with the purpose of delivering to our people what it is that's in your gifts as it relates to what God has done for you. I think that you can't, I'll say this, faith and worry cannot coexist.
Ooh, that's good. That's really good.
They can't. I mean, oil and water can be in the same place,
Hmm.
even though they separate. But faith and worry cannot coexist. If you're worried about it, that means you're not trusting God and you're not just trusting yourself.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking about it, you're very capable. You just got to move forward and have faith that it's going to work out.
Yeah, yeah. And I tell people that part of the scripture, the without works, I think a lot of people miss that part. And they're like, but I have the faith and I'm like, but are you moving on it? Are you using it? Are you
Yeah.
stepping into it? Like that's such a, I mean, for me, my platform and in and of itself is a huge testament to just doing the work. A lot of times I was like, oh, like God, how do I do this? Like I've had this platform since 2020. And I tell people
Right.
all, yeah, I've had it for a while. But it wasn't until the end of last year that I was like, okay, now's the time. Like, let's ramp it up.
People.
And that's the
Yeah.
thing, like we've done this now for 3 months and things have just progressed so fast. So I love that. And I love to see individuals kind of pour into the next generation because there's so many individuals that want to do this work. And they're just like, how do I step into this? How do I? And I did ask this question. I did throw this in there. So you're a professor at
Mhm.
Miles Law School. You
Yes.
are actively helping shape the next generation of legal leaders, and ultimately, some of them will go on to be public servants. What lessons do you teach your students to take with them about both leadership and service?
Be bold and be rigorous.
Mm.
Like be zealous. Some of the things that I think I've learned in becoming an attorney. I mean, it's almost like I won't compare it to being in the military, but it is truly boot camp. There are blood, sweat, and tears that truly come from trying to become an attorney.
Mm.
But the one thing that baseline I try to instill in my students is this: you're doing this for a reason. And if that reason is your true why, you've got to do it to satisfy your why, whatever your why is. And in doing that, you become a leader and you become a role model for people and children that never thought that they could do things like this. So that's the side of it I try to inspire people with, but on a more tactical and more strategic measure of what it is, justice is due to everyone.
Yeah.
And if you truly believe in what justice is, you should be rigorous and zealous in your approach and your execution of it. That's what I want my students to always remember as they pursue leadership in this arena.
So I guess for you, how does that translate into the work that you could potentially do in this position?
More than anything, I mean, there is a wide array of dynamics when it comes to the constituents that I'll serve in this position. So, not only do you have children, you have mothers, you have fathers, you have single mothers, you have single fathers, you have the elderly, you have the disabled, you have groups of people that you have to appeal to that are at different parts of their lives, right? Again, it goes back to the relatability. Can I relate to a child? Yes, I can inspire them and set up programs. So, as you know, Alabama State House Representative is responsible for the budgets and creating legislation that affects these districts. So, I think where I find myself being most effective is being able to go to my district, have listening tours, really listen to what's bothering the people in our district, which I'm hearing a lot about healthcare, dilapidated properties, and things like that. And then taking that voice and those concerns, processing it through my experience and my skill set, and coming up with solutions that help them with that. Because people get frustrated with dilapidated properties. But
Yeah.
here's what some people have not decided to relate to. The person that owns that dilapidated property may have lost a family member that was a um, primary income earner.
Yeah.
They don't want their home to look like that. So where are the programs and where is the budget for creating programs that can help that group of people?
Yeah.
So it's about the solutions. I think my skill set will help with coming up creative solutions to best use the budget to help the people that are in our district and in our state.
Yeah, and I'm curious, you talk a little bit about the demographic, but for the individuals that you'll serve, how are you kind of garnering that information now, and how could it really impact long-term policy?
Prior to becoming an attorney, I was a human resources executive.
Hmm.
So it was the same thing. I worked with a wide array of demographics. I think that the way that I'm connecting to the constituents right now will help garner that because I'm calling from my personal cell phone, Michaela.
Wow.
And oh yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't done any robocalls. It may come to that. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I'm calling people. I'm talking to them while they're having dinner, while they're having breakfast, some even probably while they're on their way to work.
Mhm.
But I'm asking them what are their concerns before I introduce my platform.
Mhm.
Because who am I to just come and say, we need safe communities, we need this? Every part of my district is not primarily concerned with crime because crime has come down in our area, right? Some of our constituents are concerned with how am I going to feed my children this summer when they come home?
Wow.
That speaks to legislation
Yeah.
as it relates, that can speak to legislation related to grocery tax, you
Mhm.
know? So
Yeah.
being able to listen and have consistent listening tours and various ways for my people to connect, not just send them to a website.
Yeah.
Hey, come see me. I'm coming to your school. I'm coming to your job. And being able to connect with them that way will help me decide what legislation is important to the people in Alabama.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, I think so often we have candidates that really work to build these very extensive policy platforms, and they're like, this is what people care for. And then you ask, who have you spoken to? Well, there were listening sessions, but are they reflective of the individuals that you truly want to serve? And so I love to hear that you're so open to listening, and then even more so opening to really translating that work into policy. Because I think so many people just want to be heard, right? So many individuals are like, I just need somebody that's going to listen and then do the work. So I love to hear that you're thinking about that.
I will say this. Another thing that's garnering it is I'm educating my constituents.
Yeah.
So you got grandma that's like, I'm sick of that trash in the alley. That's not something necessarily that a Alabama State House representative would directly connect to. But sometimes I think that the communities we serve also often think that government's forgotten about them.
Mm.
Government's forgotten about me. I'm just going to get my paycheck and go buy my groceries, and I could care less about what's going on around me. But when grandma or someone says something like that to me as I'm calling to say, what are your concerns and vote for Gigi? I say, well, have you spoken with your city council? We
Yeah.
have a very passionate, from what I see, passionate city council.
Mhm.
And in their defense, how can they help if they're not hearing from people sometimes? I'm sure they've got the people that are always at their door.
Yeah.
But when these constituents don't know who's going to help them with the trash, I'll say, hey, here's some resources. And I'm not even in the seat,
Mhm.
but I need to be needed. I'm that kind of girl. I always want to know that I'm helping someone. So listening and offering resources have been at the core of what's keeping me motivated and going.
again, it's a testament to who you are because you're going out of your way. Some candidates would say, I'm so sorry, that's not what I'm looking to handle. Like, hopefully you figure it out, and so to see that you're taking the extra step to connect them with resources, to me, I feel like that's a true testament of your character and obviously your ability to be able to do this job. So if I was in Alabama, you'd have my vote. I tell you that much. Because sometimes you just need somebody to listen and to help. You know what I'm saying? Especially our elders. I think here in Texas, we've seen it a lot where our elders, unfortunately, they kind of get, unless they are a little more on the outspoken side, they tend to get swept under the rug. And it's like, well, I've been asking about the same thing for so long. So to hear that, there is a candidate that's willing to go the extra mile, that's really important. So
Yes, thank you.
of course. So with that being said, we know that representation matters, especially in communities, as you've previously spoken to, that historically feel underheard and undervalued. What perspective do you believe you bring that this legislative body is currently missing?
I mean, sitting here looking at me, I am a 40-year-old
Yeah.
African American person who did not grow up with a silver spoon. Um, Actually, my parents owned a house, but like my grandmother lived in the projects for a long time. So, you hang out at grandma's house, you raised in the projects,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think the most dynamic and interesting thing I bring is that of a child that's seen and lived in poverty and understands. I mean, because my mother has done a amazing job, as you see. Like I love, but like I have had friends that had absolutely nothing. So being able to speak for people that are less considered in a state house,
Yeah.
in a capital, So I bring that insight because that's institutional knowledge as well. But I bring that because I know how many of my classmates from elementary, middle, and high school are in prison
Wow.
or struggling to find a job or are struggling with children who have special needs. I have kids that, and I've been around children that needed a more specialized approach when it comes to education. So I bring that insight because that's valuable, right? Everybody can't be cookie cutter, silver spoon, and come in and start making legislation for a body of people that socioeconomically are very diverse. So I bring that insight, I think, to the state house.
Yeah, and I think truly this interview has really spoken to it. But, and I only have two questions left. But for one, if people, an individual, let's just say a voter, it's election day, they're ready to vote, they go into the booth. Why are they voting for GiGi Hayes? Why you?
They're voting for me because I'll name a few things we've talked about.
Mm.
They've spoken to me and they know that I am relatable. I can relate to them.
Yeah.
Whether I've walked in their shoes or not, I've listened enough to be able to relate to them. They're voting for me because they know that they can count on me. They have my personal cell phone number to call and say, Gigi, you told me you wouldn't do this. And I'm hearing that you're doing this. Tell me that it's a lie or tell me that it's true and tell me why. They can contact me. They're also, I think it's also important to know that in voting for me, they know that I represent them and their own personal interests. There's a few things that I plan to do to really strategically capture the thoughts and views and feelings and economic stances that of my constituents so that I can make sure and take their voices down to Montgomery. So
Yeah.
in knowing that, I hope that I can ask for them to vote for me on May 19th.
May 19th. And it's getting close. It's
It
almost
is.
here.
It is.
So
It is.
I love asking this question because I feel like it always peels back a layer to the candidates. And so the question is non-political, non-campaign work. What is something that you are proud of that you've been able to accomplish?
Oh my God. Becoming an attorney.
Really? Yeah.
Becoming an attorney and becoming a intentional Christian. Becoming an attorney in the worldly sense, like this is crazy. I never thought it's still like I still have to pinch myself sometimes.
Really? So when
Yeah,
you got, okay, tell me, you got to tell me this story. You got to tell me a little bit about
yeah.
it.
Okay, so just starting real short from the beginning. So I'm married and I'm always trying to figure out ways that, I can be a better wife. So I was just reading this Proverbs 31. I was getting up reading it every single day, and that's how Proverbs 31, 8 and 9 popped out to me. I'm more concerned with being an effective and virtuous woman, good wife. And Proverbs 31, it was the one part of that scripture I started to remember. And
Mhm.
again, that says, speak out for those that are destitute and seek justice for the needy. I said, go to law school, girl. So, so I went to law school. So my undergrad is in business management. I got an MBA from University of Phoenix, actually. I had to do it the very non-traditional way. And that's why I keep telling people, keep going. Figure it out and keep going. I worked at AT&T. They helped pay for my
Wow.
education. So I looked for ways to make it happen. I became an attorney in 2024.
Wow.
New
Wow.
attorney. I'm a new attorney. I'm a new
Wow.
attorney.
That's so awesome.
And yes. And so I do criminal work. I do wills, probates, estates. I do work for businesses and all. The criminal work is the one that just like,
Yeah.
yeah, because I can see the victim. I understand the victim. And people say, how do you represent criminals? I want to make sure that they're constitutional. Justice goes for both sides. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so here we are. I'm an attorney.
Wow.
Yes,
That is so
yes. And I'm
awesome.
having fun. I am having a lot of fun.
That is so awesome. And you just inspired me because I was talking to my mom about this. And for the longest time, I'm like, I'm gonna go to law school. I'm gonna go to law school. I'm gonna go to law school.
Girl.
Skip that. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get my master's. Went to Howard, got my master's. And when I graduated, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to law school. And I just keep putting it off. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's that LSAT. I'm
N-
like,
Don't put it off any longer.
I'm
Like,
thinking, ooh, that
look,
LSAT
call me
stuff.
offline.
Yeah.
Listen, call me offline and we'll talk about it. And then when I start showing you where the bag comes from,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, you'll
Okay.
get in that book and you'll put everything out of your mind. Hey, this
He'll get
is
to
meant
work.
to be. Yeah,
You'll
yeah,
get to work. So, with that being said, tell us all the things. How can we help with the campaign? What are
yeah.
the dates that we should be remembering? Where's the website? Give us all the information.
Okay, so in order to reach me, you can go to vote GiGi452.com. I'm on Facebook. You can just Google GiGi Hayes, actually. And you can actually just go to www.gigihayes.com and it'll bring up my website, my campaign website. I work for two law firms. So yes, I do
Wow.
wear many hats. Yes. But Hayes Law Group, you can connect to me in many ways. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. So if nothing else, just go there and check me out. And for anyone that wants to volunteer, we do have virtual volunteer opportunities. So you can be in California and actually help with the Alabama campaign for GiGi Hayes. You just fill out the volunteer form and someone will get in touch with you. We have virtual phone banking. We're, of course, canvassing here. The magic date right now is May 19th.
May
We
19th.
got to get out the vote on May 19th. And so those are the ways to get in touch with me. Donations. We are real big on donations. We would love to have your donations. I've often said on this campaign that anything is everything to me. I would also not just votes and donations, I ask for prayers.
Yeah.
I would love to have prayers because it's a huge undertaking, but I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
I love that anything is everything. And let me tell you one thing. I've seen it on both sides. Some candidates they get on here and they get real shy. They're like, yeah, but I'm not gonna ask for money. I'm like, well, you gotta ask for something. Here's the thing, these campaigns are not cheap. They do not go for free at all. And Black women, especially, we are already so underrepresented in this space that it's really hard to garner those donations, especially if you want to do it in a way that's grassroots and really close to the ground. So yes, I'm glad you mentioned the donations because nothing runs on air around here. Everything you need a dollar for everything. Can I just say
That's
you
where
are so inspiring. You are going to serve them so well. I just genuinely believe that you are going to win on May 19th and you're going to go far. So congratulations in
thank
advance.
You got a purpose. What is your reason? What is your fighting for? I see you searching.